Something quietly changed at your local DMV, and most drivers over 65 have no idea it happened. The rules you memorized decades ago, the ones that felt second nature every time you got behind the wheel, some of them are no longer the law. Right now, across multiple U.S. states, the DMV has officially updated 3 driving regulations that directly impact drivers aged 65 and older. These aren't rumors circulating on Facebook. These are documented, government-confirmed changes that are already in effect in your state or heading there fast. We're talking about vision screening requirements that have been tightened, license renewal intervals that have been shortened specifically for older drivers, and new road test mandates that many seniors are getting blindsided by at the counter. Missing this information doesn't just cost you a fine. It could cost you your license entirely. And losing your license means losing your independence. So before you renew, before you drive, and before anyone in your family assumes everything is still the same, watch this completely. Because what you're about to hear is straight from official DMV records, broken down in plain English, so you walk away knowing exactly where you stand and what you need to do next. Let's start with the very first change. And honestly, this one surprised a lot of people when it quietly rolled out across several states. We're talking about vision screening requirements, and the way the DMV is now handling them has shifted significantly for drivers who are 65 and older. For decades, the standard process was simple. You walked in to renew your license, read a few lines off a chart, and as long as you passed that basic test, you were good to go for another 4 to 8 years depending on your state. That system is changing. Several states, including Florida, California, and Illinois, have either already implemented or are in the final stages of rolling out mandatory enhanced vision screening for drivers 65 and older at every single renewal. Not every other renewal, every one. And here is what makes this different from what you've experienced before. The new screening isn't just about whether you can read letters on a wall chart. It now includes peripheral vision testing, contrast sensitivity evaluation, and in some states, a depth perception component. Why? Because traffic safety researchers working directly with state DMV offices discovered that the traditional eye chart test was missing a significant number of drivers who had developed conditions like glaucoma, macular degeneration, and diabetic retinopathy. Conditions that are far more common after age 60 and that affect the edges of your vision, your ability to judge distance, and your ability to see clearly in low-light situations like dusk and dawn driving. Now, here is what you need to understand practically. If you go to your DMV renewal appointment and you do not pass this enhanced screening on your first attempt, you will not automatically lose your license that day. Most states give you a window, typically between 30 and 90 days, to visit a licensed optometrist or ophthalmologist, get a proper examination, and submit documentation showing either that your vision meets the legal standard with corrective lenses or that you are actively being treated for a condition. But here's the part that trips people up. If you miss that window, or if you simply don't follow through because you assume it will work itself out, your license can be suspended without any further notice. The DMV is not going to send you reminders. This is your responsibility to handle, and the clock starts the moment you leave that renewal appointment. So what should you do right now, today, before you ever sit down in that DMV chair? Get a comprehensive eye exam, not a quick glasses prescription check. A full exam that specifically evaluates your peripheral vision and your retinal health. Bring those results with you to your renewal. Walk in prepared, and you will walk out with your license in hand. Walk in assuming everything is fine because you drove here without any trouble, and you might be in for a very frustrating surprise. Now, let's move into the second change, and this one has been causing a lot of conversation in senior communities across the country because it directly affects how often you have to go to the DMV in the first place. License renewal intervals for drivers 65 and older are being shortened in a growing number of states. Historically, many states allowed renewal periods of 6 to 8 years for all licensed drivers regardless of age. That is shifting. Right now, states like Arizona, Georgia, Missouri, and several others have moved to a 4-year renewal cycle specifically for drivers who have reached age 65. And in states like Illinois, it drops even further, to 2 years once you pass 75. Now, before you get frustrated, Let's talk about why this is happening, because understanding the reasoning actually helps you navigate it better. The science behind this change is rooted in data collected over the last decade, showing that certain age-related changes in reaction time, cognitive processing speed, and physical flexibility, specifically the ability to turn your head and check blind spots, can develop and accelerate rapidly in your late 60s and into your 70s. State transportation departments are not making a judgment about your individual driving ability. They are responding to population-level data that shows shorter renewal cycles catch emerging issues earlier, which ultimately keeps everyone on the road safer, including the driver themselves. What this means for you practically is that you need to track your renewal date more carefully than ever before. The window for renewal in most states opens 180 days before your expiration date, and many states now allow online or mail-in renewal for one cycle before requiring an in-person visit. But here is the catch. If you are in a state that now mandates in-person renewal at 65 or older, that online convenience you may have used last time is gone. You will need to physically appear at the DMV, and depending on where you live, that means scheduling appointments in advance because walk-in availability in many locations is extremely limited. There is also something happening alongside these shortened renewal windows that most people are not talking about. Several states are now tying the renewal process to a brief driving record review, meaning a DMV officer will pull up your recent history of violations, accidents, and any medical reports that have been flagged. And if your record shows a pattern of minor incidents that individually wouldn't raise concern but collectively suggest a developing issue, you may be asked to take an additional road skills test before your renewal is approved. This is not a punishment. This is the DMV doing what it is legally required to do to ensure public safety. But if you are not aware it can happen, it feels like it comes completely out of nowhere. The best thing you can do to prepare for this is to request your own driving record before your renewal appointment. In every state, you have the legal right to access your own DMV record, usually for a small fee between $5 and $15. Look at what is on there. If there are any discrepancies, errors, or incidents you want to be prepared to address, better to know that sitting at home than finding out while you're standing at the counter. And now we get to the third change, and this is the one that carries the most emotional weight for a lot of people because it touches on something deeply personal. The idea of being asked to prove that you can still drive when you've been doing it successfully for 40, 50, sometimes 60 years. A number of states are now implementing mandatory road skills retesting for drivers above a certain age threshold, typically beginning somewhere between 70 and 75, depending on the state. This is brand new territory for American driving law, and it is expanding. California has been piloting a program in select counties where drivers 70 and older flagged by their physicians for potential cognitive or physical changes are required to complete a full road test before license renewal is approved. Texas has proposed similar legislation, and Maryland already requires that any driver 70 or older who has had their license suspended for any reason, even briefly, must pass a full road test to have it reinstated with no exceptions. These programs are expected to become more widespread over the next 2 to 3 years as more states adopt similar frameworks. Here is the thing about this that most people don't fully appreciate until they're actually in it. The road test being given to older drivers who are required to take one is not the same test a 16-year-old takes. It is specifically designed to evaluate the skills that are most likely to be affected by age-related changes. Evaluators are looking at how you handle merging at highway speeds, how you respond to sudden stops, how you manage intersections where you have to turn across oncoming traffic, and critically, how you perform in conditions that require divided attention, like navigating construction zones or responding to a pedestrian stepping off a curb unexpectedly. These are real-world scenarios, not parking lot maneuvers, and if you have not driven in those situations recently or regularly, it shows. The most important thing you can do if you know you are approaching the age threshold in your state is to practice intentionally. Get out on the highway, drive during rush hour occasionally, take a route you don't normally take, and pay attention to how your body responds to the unfamiliar decision-making it requires. Many communities also offer refresher driving courses specifically designed for older adults. The AARP Driver Safety Program is one of the most well-known, and completing it is not only useful preparation, but may also qualify you for an insurance discount in your state, which is a genuine bonus. There is also a very important legal detail that most seniors are not told about up front. If you are asked to take a road test and you decline, if you simply choose not to show up or not to complete it, your license will be suspended automatically in most states. You cannot opt out of a mandatory retest once it has been triggered by either your age threshold, a medical report from your doctor, or a pattern in your driving record. The suspension happens, and getting it reinstated after that point requires going through an entirely separate administrative process that can take months and in some states requires a hearing before a DMV examiner. Avoiding the test does not make the issue go away. It makes everything significantly harder. So here is where this all lands for you today. These three changes, enhanced vision screening, shortened renewal intervals, and expanded road skills retesting, are not things that are coming eventually. They are either already in place or actively being rolled out right now across states that represent the majority of the senior driving population in this country. The drivers who are going to be blindsided by them are the ones who assumed the process would work the same way it always has. And the drivers who are going to walk through every single renewal without any disruption are the ones who took 30 minutes to understand what has changed and prepared accordingly. You have been driving your entire adult life. You have navigated decades of changing roads, changing cars, and changing traffic patterns. Navigating a changing DMV process is absolutely within your ability, but only if you know what you're walking into. That's exactly what this video is here to make sure of, because your independence matters, your ability to get to your doctor, to your grandchildren, to the places that make your life yours. That matters. And keeping your license current and valid is how you protect all of it.